Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to part one of a four-part series entitled Spring Clean Your Mental Health. My name is Nia Jones. I am the Youth and College Division Director for the Black Mental Health Alliance for Education and Consultation, and we're doing something new here. We are hosting this series that talks about kind of resetting, refocusing, unpacking, and renewing our mental health. 2020 and quite honestly, the beginning of 2021 proved to be really difficult, and especially for people of color. And so just kind of taking this time when the trees are blooming and flowers are popping up out of the ground to also do the same for ourselves. We've been inside, we have been weighed down and heavy for over a year now. And some of us have found that inner peace. Some of us have lost weight and gotten involved into different workout regimens and self-care regimens and seeing a therapist for the first time, and I am loving it. And so let's continue that. Let's continue to do the work. And so today I have a quick 25-30 minute presentation around getting started. That is the biggest part of the battle, right? The hardest part sometimes. And so when you think about spring cleaning, we always like kind of open the closets and just start like taking things out, or we are absolutely dreading it. You remember mom used to kick up the gospel music or the Frankie Beverly, and would tell us to dust the baseboards and mop, and you'd smell Pine Sol and Fabuloso in the air, and the windows will be open. And it was really just a time of renewal and celebration for, hooray, winter is over. And now we can start fresh. And so the same thing here, same concept with our mental health and wellness. Unpacking is the first step to get started. And so often we hear things like, let's unpack that, or can you unpack that a little bit more for me, please? And let's unpack our emotions. All really great colloquialisms, which are like, just these things that we use in passing. But it has a really particular meaning, and can be really daunting. Daunting asks you to look at your emotions, essentially unzip the luggage, open it, and then begin to unpack the feelings of grief, the feelings of anxiety, the feelings of mania, the feelings of low self-worth and low self-confidence. All of the things that come up around traumas that you might not even have been present for, that were generational, or even the things that you were present for, intimate partner violence, and having a poor educational system, and seeing people and hearing about individuals, especially in a city like Baltimore. People are dying every day. Quite honestly, to be Black in America, being afraid to go out and getting pulled over by the police, and what may happen from there. And so people say all the time, unpack that, right? And I don't even know if they know exactly what they're asking us to do. And so I took a stab at trying to help to unpack and explain what it means to unpack that. And getting started with spring cleaning our mental health. So let's rock and roll. And so let's unpack. And so again, thank you so much for joining us for this session. You are free to comment in the chat, and we will definitely get back to you. So how do we even do this? How do we take these steps toward our healing and beginning the process of healing and unpacking? Kind of three things that I like to bring out. And if I sound like a preacher, that's funny because of all the preachers that are in my life. But number one is see yourself, right? But also kind of what did you want people to see about you? Number two is freeing yourself from the things that you thought, the things that you believed, the things that you judged yourself for. And number three, love you. That constant state of loving on yourself, understanding yourself, becoming, and taking that journey toward who you are. So let's get started here. So as we're taking our steps toward healing, number one, it takes a full examination of the totality of one's experiences. And so there's so much that happens around all of us every day, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, any of that. All humans have these life experiences that are heavy. Life will life on you is what I tell people all the time. But the second sentence there says you are more than your trauma. We just did an entire series, an entire first part of a 6-part series with the Black Mental Health Alliance Youth and College Division around I am more than my trauma. So as we examine the totality of it, understanding that within it, it's not what's wrong with me, it's what happened to me and around me, starting there. Number 2, acknowledging the systems that caused the problem in the first place, the thing that caused the brokenness, that caused the intergenerational trauma, that caused the generational curses. What systems caused it in the first place, if applicable, all right? So sometimes things such as disinvestment in our communities, lack of economic opportunity, poor school systems, kind of those seeds that were planted. What kind of strange fruit did that produce? Did it produce joblessness? Did it produce substance use disorder? Did it produce, or dependency? Did it produce violence in our communities? Sometimes, yes. There are other points in which, there are things in which life happens. And again, acknowledging the cause, right? Not the person. What was the cause? Was it something with your mom who was emotionally unavailable for you? And so instead of making her a villain, perhaps we consider, the totality of her experiences and what that looked like for you. Okay. So acknowledgement of the systems, the other stories and interactions and experiences that caused the brokenness in our lives. Number 3, examine how the trauma is experienced collectively. So often we skip over this part, especially in African American communities, that my brother and sister and friends' pain is also my pain. The things that my friends and family and other individuals experience in our community are also experienced by me. And so being able to examine how that trauma is experienced collectively, kind of from the outside looking in, but also kind of like within your family. Where else do you see those same seeds of fear and distrust and, bad things happening to lots of individuals within the family? And then how did we all internalize it? How did we all internalize that fear and anxiety and feelings of low self-worth and I don't deserve to have this college degree? Sometimes those feelings around imposter syndrome aren't just from the outside, like putting ourselves against a white standard. Sometimes it's within our own family, in that trauma of job loss or trauma of, signing for loans and that loan being predatory has made us fearful, in that when we do excel and exceed and move into our next, that we don't even know how to handle it because of the trauma that happened in our own families. So examine how that is experienced collectively, and then look within, how is that impacting you? Number 4, hope, imagination, aspiration, trust. Those are really the bedrock on which the healing must begin. So having hope that although I'm here right now, I won't always be here. Having the space to imagine and dream. I've worked with clients over the years who can't see themselves outside of the situation in which they're in, because again, generationally, no one else has ever gotten out. I don't even know, Miss Nia, I don't even know how to even think about what that would look like. And so again, aspiring to that greatness, aspiring to be your best self, and then trusting yourself to be able to activate your own healing. Trusting the therapist that you're working with to be able to give you the steps, and being honest. That honesty comes in play with that trust for sure. And then number 5, again, that collective healing. And so within my own healing, I am now being able to reach back and pull forward. I know exactly what it feels like to be free. And I want you to do that with me. I want you to, and even if you don't want to do it with me, I've gotten my healing. I want to see you whole too. Can't want it more for the person than they want it for themselves, but being able to sow those seeds of healing. And so sometimes we see individuals who have healed from, again, intimate partner violence, who have healed from being involved in negative gang activity, and then going back into those very communities and starting a business or, doing motivational speaking around the thing that they have healed and been freed from. That is an effective and important part of the healing process for sure. So there's a concept that I want you all to think about. It is called an emotional wet t-shirt. And so when we are unpacking, and this was the best meme that I could find for this, but as we're unpacking, it's going to feel like an emotional wet t-shirt. It's going to feel disgusting. It's going to feel yucky. It's going to be drippy. What is the first thing you want to do when you get into in a wet t-shirt? You want to take it off. It's like, I can't be in this. I don't want to be in this. I want to ignore this. I want to go throw it in the dryer and put on a nice dry t-shirt. But if this man in this meme put on a dry t-shirt over top of his wet body, that dry t-shirt is going to get wet too, right? And so when I work with clients, I always tell them to sit in the emotional wet t-shirt. Sit in that pain. Sit in that grief and loss. Sit in the feelings of anxiety and depression and low self-worth. And then we're asking ourselves, why? Like, why do we feel this way? What happened? Again, not what's wrong with me. What happened to me that made me internalize this way? Okay? We sit in the emotional wet t-shirt. And other thing is, so often we take the emotional wet t-shirt off and we just throw it in the corner, go on about our day, put back on another dry shirt that's a little damp from those emotions. And what does that t-shirt that's sitting in the corner do? It gets moldy, it gets yucky, it gets stinky, and you still eventually have to go back and deal with it. Deal with it now. Sit with it now. As we're unpacking and cleansing and getting prepared for, spring and summer and fall and eventually winter again, being able to do the cleaning that you need to do. It begins in this wet t-shirt. So again, don't put it in the corner. It will mold. It will go bad on you. It will stink. And you're going to have to acknowledge it at some point. Might as well do it while you got it on. And so here's a couple of points that you can use as you're unpacking, as you are getting started to spring clean your mental health. Number 1, an emotional journal. And so I give an assignment to clients, especially when they first start with me. They're like, I have no idea. I came to you because you're going to be able to help me to unpack and sit with and understand my emotions. And I'm like, you have the answers inside you already. I'm going to give you some tools to be able to pull it out, but you have the answer. And so I'll provide an emotional wheel, and you can Google emotional wheel and tons will come up. And so I do a little bit of education around, we are all hardwired with the same emotions. So anger, disgust, fear, sadness, joy, love. Same 6, now they're saying 8 emotions, somewhere around there. If you haven't watched the movie Inside Out, it is the perfect explanation of the control center of those emotions, the emotional control center of the brain. And so then taking those emotions in the center of the emotions wheel, there's additional words outside of the core of that wheel that help you to say anger better. I'm not angry, I'm exasperated. I'm not angry, I'm pissed. And that might not be on there, but it's a better way to say it, right? And so then I have my clients check in every day. Here's the emotion that I'm feeling. They kind of point to it and then they journal about it, right? It might be angry for 17 days straight, but what they're doing is they're continuing to chip away at that emotion. And then that anger becomes, I feel helpless. I feel tired. I feel unloved or unlovable, right? Emotional journal. And then you'll be able to have some data around, why is it every Wednesday I feel angry? What's happening on Wednesdays? What has historically happened on Wednesdays, right? So emotional journaling. It's a really, really powerful tool. Number 2, again, sit with the emotion. You might journal it, and I've had individuals that'll just write something kind of surface level because they want to get the homework done, and then they close up the journal and they go about their day. Not enough. Write about it, think about it, pray about it to whomever you serve. Sit with the emotion. Sit with it again and again and again until you've gotten to the bottom of it. And there is a certain point that individuals can get to on the individual level before they need a therapist. I say start with a therapist. I might be biased because I am one, but sit with the emotion. Number 3, conduct those emotional check-ins, right? So then I take that same wheel and I tell a client, post it in your room. Keep a copy of it on your phone. Maybe at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you do those check-ins to say, I started my day angry. And then as it moved on, I got a little anxious. And then as I moved on to dinner, I felt a little peaceful, right? And so now they can follow the progression of their day and see what things happened, what things occurred that helped them to move throughout their day. You know, whether it was a speed bump or a hill that they had to climb over, they're checking in with themselves. Number 4, sit with the emotion again, right? We're in a constant state of becoming. Our journey toward our emotional healing is just like that. It's that not necessarily a roller coaster ride, but it's never in a straight line. If we're constantly becoming, we're constantly growing, right? And so those emotions may change. And so sit with the emotion again. And you might at this point want to talk with a trusted person. That could be a mentor, a life coach, a therapist. If you feel like you're at the point where you need some clinical involvement. It could be a parent, it could be auntie, uncle, somebody who is able to support you. And then we release. Actually allowing yourself to let go. And so you can sit with the emotions all you want to, but if you're holding on to it, and as you're processing, it should get a little bit easier to do what? To kind of watch my hands go like this. I remember in my own processing, I was sitting with the emotions daily, anger, the sadness, the feelings of low self-worth and low confidence. But I kept going like this. I need to hold on to something. I need to hold on to that emotion because I'm not quite sure how to feel about this person if I'm not angry with them, because I don't know what peace looks like with this individual. And I kept holding on. And the moment I went like this, I was able to receive so much more. I was able to then kind of go deeper and clean out some more because I had let go of the other thing that brought me to therapy. Now I had more inner spiritual and, other work to do that was able to then come up because I had let go of the thing. I released it. Let it go. So often we just kind of hold on because we don't know any other emotion but anger. We don't understand peace. We don't understand rest. It's okay. Let it go. Release it. Second part of that was freeing yourself. I forgive my mind for thinking. This is one of my favorite prompts because the concept of forgiveness must be done over and over and over again before we even get to the point of actually forgiving. First step has to be with yourself. Not with mama, not with daddy, not with auntie, not with the person that touched you inappropriately, not with anybody, not with the person that fired you, not with the person that broke up with you, yourself. Not blaming yourself, but forgiving yourself for those things that you thought about yourself. Because we can be our own worst enemy, worst critic, worst judge. After we've forgiven ourselves and then released that, then we can deal with the person that hurt us. Freeing yourself. Because we can't, quite honestly, we can't change the person. Unfortunately, wish we could. We can never change the person. They are who they are. They have to have their own healing work. If you want to work on yourself, you got to do that. You got to work on yourself first. And then you can deal with the anxiety that the thought or presence of that person brings. Then you can deal with the depression of those feelings of, I've gotten my confidence back, but there's something that's kind of still sticking with this feeling of low self-worth and depression and sadness. And it's attached to somebody else and an experience that I had with somebody else. Got to free you first. Also ask yourself, who were you before that trauma? Who were you before that brokenness, that sadness? And sometimes we don't even know. I know for myself, when I think about being anxious, I can always remember being anxious. And so sometimes it gets hard to answer this question of who was I before then? Sometimes I'm like, I was an infant. I was a baby. I don't really know. Right? But if there was kind of like a breaking point, right? So often that breaking point happens and we can't see ourselves and who we were before that breaking point, and we can't really imagine who we're going to be after we're healed from that breaking point. You just get kind of stuck right there. But remember who you were before that thing happened to you. Right? Were you confident? Were you spontaneous? Did you love yourself? That's the person that you go back and you rescue. And if not, that's okay. That's where that aspiration and that hope that we talked about earlier comes in. That Nia, I can't think of, and I don't know who I was before then. Okay, then the next question is, who do I want to become? Let's rewrite the narrative. Who were you before? Insert concern here. All right. Love yourself. Gotta love on yourself. What makes you feel full? Ask yourself that question. Journal about that question. What fills me up? Because in there, that healing can happen. In there, you can, start to work on yourself, self-care, right? Self-care is not always getting your nails done and your hair done. I love all of those things. Love me a good mani-pedi, getting my locks retwisted. Love it. But what makes me feel full? For me, it's reading a good book and being able to apply it. Going to church, really having an interaction with the Creator. Having my family around me and we just laugh. Laughter makes me feel so full. Ask yourself that. Journal about that. Love on yourself. Self-care is an act of resistance. This world will cut at you, take everything if you let it, have you on the hamster wheel, work, and you always feel empty. Can't pour from an empty cup. I've tried. It's just a cup. Nothing's in there. What makes you feel full? And then accentuate the positives. It is so easy to look at the negatives. Again, remember I said earlier, we are our own worst critics sometimes. So think about your individual strengths. I don't care if it is, I make the best rice ever. That could be it. You make the best rice. And quite honestly, there's a lot of people that don't make good rice because they can't. Okay? That's why they have rice cookers. It could be, I braid really well. I can cook well. Right? I can decorate my house well or my space. I love on people hard. Individual strengths. Embrace the culture. Embrace cultural norms. right? So if it is that, sharing a meal with my family makes me feel better, do that. If it is being on Black Twitter and laughing wholeheartedly when everything else around me is burning, do that. Black Twitter is for the culture. Whatever those cultural norms are, do them. Reflect upon your past successes. Give yourself credit for how far you've gotten. You got yourself there. The 7-year-old you that experienced some trauma might be driving the car, but 7-year-old you got the car to where it is. It got the car to a bachelor's degree. It got the car to high school. It got the car to a job and, a little bit of money in the bank. It kept you alive. You kept yourself alive, even when you felt like suicide was an option. That's a success. You're still here, you're still standing. Be dream driven, something to work towards. But you can reflect on your past successes and be satisfied there and still work toward your dreams. But dare to dream. A dream is from your heart. One of my favorite people says to lead with your heart. When the mind is free to dream, the heart is able to lead. Mr. Richard Rose says that. Dream big, super big. And even if you don't completely get to it, which we hope and pray for all of you, you at least shot for the moon. You landed in the stars. You ain't on the ground. Be dream driven. Love yourself. Actively change your thinking. So what I'm talking about is not comfortable. It is not normal. We can settle into the negative, but the positive and that self-confidence and being able to unpack requires you to actively change what you think about what's in that luggage. And so this kind of linear thinking pathway is very helpful in how we help people to restructure their thoughts. So usually a situation happens, we have a thought about it, there's an emotion that's attached to that thought, and then we act on it. All of that happens before we get to either poor behavior or good behavior. Okay? Let's think about this. A situation such as a friend hasn't called you in weeks occurs. Usually the first thought is, oh, they must not like me anymore. I'm just going to start cutting everybody off. See what I mean about, you trust people with your heart and with your space and to be your friend. And we get to these negative thoughts. You just see how I just jumped down a rabbit hole. And so the emotion is, oh, I just can't do that anymore. I'm angry. I'm annoyed. I'm pissed. I feel less than. I feel rejected. And so then what's the behavior? I turn within, I crawl into my shell. I don't want to talk to nobody. Or I just start cutting people out of my life. When that friend, kind of bring us all the way back to the beginning of that bubble, that friend was busy, right? Just busy. So much happens, especially in this COVID environment, that we get really busy. And so instead of jumping down a rabbit hole, maybe we pick up the phone. Hey, is everything okay? Or I know for a fact that my friend is working 3 jobs and trying to raise a kid. Or I know that my friend battles depression just like I do. Maybe I just send her something, him, her, they, them, something that says, hey, thinking of you. The emotion might still be the same. I might still feel a little bit like sad because I haven't heard from my friend. But now I'm hopeful that they'll reach out. I haven't cut them off. I haven't, made any super quick decisions. I'm checking on my person. Actively changing your thinking. That feels a lot lighter. Okay. Take that with you. Think about the situation. What thoughts did you immediately have that were connected to that situation? As a result of the thoughts, what kind of emotional tailspin are you sending yourself into? And then how does that like show up in the world? What kind of behaviors show up in the world? And so I'm done. But as we unpack, it should get a little bit lighter, right? So as we're starting this process, it should get a whole lot lighter. And so you can look like Keenan getting on this flight with all kinds of luggage and stuff from over the years, from every other spring, summer, fall, and winter, struggling. Or we can look like Lizzo. Still something in there. Yeah, I think that's a purse. It was so ridiculous, y'all. There's something in there. Might not be able to fit much. Might have some emotions tucked in there, but you worked on it and it's a lot lighter. So thank you so much for joining me for this really quick session around Spring Clean Your Mental Health. Be sure to join us tomorrow as we talk about herbs for anxiety. I think that you all will definitely enjoy that one in partnership with Backyard Base Camp and one of their vendors. Her name is Angela. She does a really great job at explaining how you can naturally work on your anxiety. And so I know some people don't particularly care for different medications and may want to try something a little more natural that grows from the ground. And so we have a really awesome presentation prepared with that information. And then on Friday, we have a virtual Zen garden walk that you can join us on Instagram. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Young Black Minds Matter, as well as right here on YouTube. It will all be streamed live. And yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to us via Instagram, direct message. You can also leave your comments here in the chat and we'll get right back to you. But thank you all so much. Be sure to follow the Black Mental Health Alliance on all social media outlets. Visit our website, www.blackmentalhealth.com. We also have a podcast, Real Talk, Black Minds Matter, in which we talk about really provocative and amazing topics such as Black love and politics and laughter and some really dope Black women lead, some really amazing topics that we have on there that is available on all podcast media outlets. And so thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow. And don't forget to start to unpack. Thank you.